Welcome to the High Achieving Parents Podcast. I am your host, Severine Nassens, and I invite you to join us as we explore the reality and family experiences of high achieving parents around the globe. Learn from like-minded parents who do believe balance is possible, but not a one-size-fits-all proposition. Stay tuned for conversations about how my guests juggle successful careers in parenthood to make it all work in their own way. Will we find a common thread throughout these interviews? Let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another round of the High Achieving Parents podcast. And today I have the weapons guy with me. His name is Angel Anderson, and he is originally from Puerto Rico, lives in Florida with his lovely wife and two teenage boys. And he's here to share his story with us on being an Air Force retiree and an entrepreneur. He's been very, very active in marketing, and he's a total ace at that. So today our talk is about another high-achieving dad, the story behind the father, the story behind the high achiever. And welcome, Angel. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
An absolute pleasure. It's always good to talk to you. We've had a couple conversations before, and it's always fun. So this is going to be another fun podcast loaded with wisdom, because I've had the pleasure to speak with Angel before about parenting, about our kids and our businesses. So the floor is all yours, Angel. I'd love for you to share your story about how it went for you to go from Puerto Rico into the Air Force, not speaking any English at all, and then going from being a weapons guy to an entrepreneur. How did it all happen?
Long story short, because it's a long story, it's 20 years in the making. I joined the Air Force, let's say, out of a whim. I wanted a change, and I have this bad habit of forcing me to change, so burn the bridge. So I joined the Air Force. My family wasn't happy. Then I was the only male back then. So I joined. Long story short, I joined. Didn't speak any English back then. I spent like a year saying yes sir, no sir. I understood. And a big takeaway for anybody that going through similar situation, obviously the system has changed. Now you got to go to an English school. But anybody that is immigrating to another country, whether it's America, United States, or Europe, or it doesn't matter, the language should not be a barrier. There are ways to learn and communicate. And don't get offended when somebody tries to correct you. But in the same token, I still got a thick accent. It took me a long time to develop. But in my looking back, it's because it's not their fault, but maybe because I wasn't asking people to correct me actively, and that delayed my progress. So long, I joined the Air Force. I loved it. Well, I didn't love it at first, but I ended up doing 20 years. I retired in 2017. How I started doing marketing or high achiever, like I said, I didn't like the Air Force at first, so I started thinking on Plan B. And Plan B started buying and selling cars. That's what I was doing towards in my high school years, buying and flipping cars. And I started at my first computer store in 1998. I used to work. I worked for a long time in CompUSA as a business sales. I learned the system, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get out of the Air Force. I'm gonna open my first computer store. Uh, Long story short, again, because if not, we're gonna stay here for 2 hours. That's how my journey as an entrepreneur, a business owner started. Fast forward to 2003, uh, the Air Force is telling me. By that point, I've been designing website. So I started. I opened a computer store, but as a default, people ask me to design website. You are around computers, and people were asking me, and that's how I stumbled upon designing websites in '98. And now in 2003, I realized that people didn't want a website; they wanted the result the website can give them. And around that same point, the Air Force, I was introduced to marketing. The Air Force pushed me to pursue a higher education. If you know anything about the Air Force, Once you go in, they're going to push you to get a bachelor because you're competing against your peers. If somebody pursues a bachelor and you don't, they're going to have a higher end of year report. And you have a bachelor, you got to get your master's, and you got a master, you're going to end up with the doctor, depending on how long you're in the Air Force. So I left the Air Force with an MBA. Uh,
Amazing.
so when everybody was thinking, I'm the weapons guy, the aircraft armament system guy. But when my friends, my peers were looking for aircraft related degrees, around that point, I fell in love with marketing and I pursue a public relationship and marketing degree. That's
Hmm.
why that was my bachelor. That's how I got started into marketing.
Marketing.
Yeah, I fell in love with marketing right away, which led me to some problems at home, and probably that's why your my subject or marketing and your theme intersect because I got so involved into making more money. Yeah, people see that making money online it could be a pyramid scheme or it could be a trap, but it's not. If they are tricks, there are people trying to rip you off.
Yes.
But thinking about it, you have some type of expertise and jump on, you get paid to jump on Skype. Back then was Skype. I used to do interviews through Skype.
Hmm.
uh, Masterminds through go to webinar on a dialogue, but it
On the phone.
wasn't on a phone. It wasn't a video call. We did it back then. It was I started writing books, selling books. I started looking at affiliate income. I did coaching. I still own a hosting company. So I started what I realized back then. It was a numbers game. So I wanted to make more money, which it caused me problem because then I came from the military on a Friday night from work, and instead of spending time with the family, I went
You work.
straight to the office from Friday to Sunday, and it got to the point that my wife said, or them or us. And one thing that definitely, two things that I would say that change my outlook on because we are blinded. It's a blinders that you have. You know in management you go through the 360-degree leadership and you go through all this time management training, but sometimes they are hard to. We are blinded, so it's hard to apply to our own lives. So two things that changed my mind or my outlook. One, I my perception of how I was doing. I did a time inventory. So every hour I wrote down what I was doing and what I thought I was doing, and what I thought the amount of time I was spending with the family. Uh, it was completely wrong. Yes, and sometimes when it comes to things like people often say, I don't watch TV, but I bet you if you do a time inventory, you probably spend 20 hours a week watching TV. That's a part-time job, and then you're complaining that you're broke. Come on, come on, come on.
That's an amazing insight. And I think doing an exercise on what we do with our time, I call it time investment, right? I look at my time, my 24 hours. We all have 24 hours a day. How do we invest that time in being productive, in being with the family? And I'm really grateful you bring up that topic of being so focused on making the money, on achieving those goals, because once we step into that high achiever role, we go 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 and we don't look back, right? We start going and we tend to forget that, well, there's a family around us. And in your case, your wife, your sons. In my case, my then husband, my daughter. And I can totally relate with to that. I would work 16, 18 hours a day, come home exhausted, be grumpy. I mean, it would be my time was already limited, and then I was in a bad mood because I was totally stressed out. And then it spiraled for me, it spiraled down from there. When your wife told you it's them or us, what did you do after you made that inventory? What was the critical step for you to switch things around and to put the focus more on your family life?
boundaries. I created boundaries, and it's hard. So if you have a boundary issue, you typically answer. Your typical response is, "It's hard for me to say no."
Mm.
People that say that it's hard for me to say no, but you have to create. Even for me today, look, I don't let clients schedule from my only time that they can. And people can say or think or who you think angel it is. I'm creating boundaries for me and my family. So if you want to schedule an appointment with me, it's between 9 a.m. Eastern time and 5 p.m. Eastern time. No Saturday and Sunday, Monday to Friday. That's boundaries. That way, my family know that after 5 p.m., I don't have any client calls. I'm all theirs. I'm having dinner. I'm having movie nights. Work is going to be there tomorrow. Family might not be there tomorrow. I have so many stories of people in the military that they went to pursue a higher rank, a higher pay grade, and that's what they wanted to do. That's their goal. Just it relates to money. The same thing. And once you achieve it, what happens if the family is not there with you because you neglect them throughout the process? It happens so often. And I have an amazing wife. I don't want to lose her. I am behaving. I'm a good boy. I do my best to be a better father and husband every day. But we went through rough patch. We've been together 18 years now. But we went through at the beginning. We went through a rough patch. But it's nothing that communication can fix.
Hmm.
It just trying to understand. It wasn't until recently that I also realized that other people that I realized, I think, why other people achieve what we weren't able to achieve as far as working 20 hours a day for long periods of time and still keeping the family. And the only conclusion, because at the end of the day, I do my best not to blame circumstances or
External. Uh-huh.
yeah, if I can do something in the future, if I was in the same situation, I will work on my vision and I will get them to buy in and into the long term. But that's the challenge, that a lot of us are not clear with our vision or mission or purpose in life at an
Hmm.
early age, and we're just go 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 go. It's not until late that a lot of us, many of us, realize what we're meant to do in life, and that's okay. But family. If you're not married, I'm not saying you need to get married, but I could tell you that spending my success with people that truly have my best interest in mind, that love me and make me happy, is nothing but amazing. Peace.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
And being able to share your wins, to share your success with your loved ones, and to have that support. And that is something that is coming through in all of the interviews that I've been doing for this podcast, is the support. The support system may not be big, but there is a support system to fall back on whenever things go wrong. You have that support system. Business comes and goes, the money comes and goes, and as you said earlier on, the family may not be there tomorrow, and it is something to treasure. And we are blessed with love in our life, with healthy relationships in our life, but they take work. It takes a lot of work to continue a relationship, and going through all, I mean, after 18 years, it's a lot of ups and downs, right? There's plenty of situations. How do you keep that relationship with your wife? How do you keep your sanity between raising teenagers and running the business? How do you keep that balance in there?
It's in the current how we are handling is not how I want to handle it. Let's put it that way. How we're handling, I'm more the clown, the joker. So my current role in the house is the enforcer. I don't want to be the enforcer. I want to be the joker. I want to be the clown. But so I spend most of I spend most of my time in front of a computer, working hours. So Zoom meetings, sending emails, working on a website, etc., editing a video. Both of my kids, since the pandemic started, they're in the at home, and
Hmm.
my wife has been nothing but a champ to stepping up, make sure the kids are making good progress. And also, uh, I'm blessed. She loved the things that I don't like doing. She loved cutting the lawn. I hate cutting the lawn. uh, you know uh,
Cool.
I can step outside and I lost her for an hour and she's fixing a sprinkler. So she likes those type of things, and I'm more the technology guy. So we do have a balance, but when they don't listen to her, then I step in and I don't do 1, 2, 3. I you don't listen to your mom, you're screwed. Mom is too good with you. You lost electronics or you go into your room. I don't give breaks. I give them love, structure, and discipline. That I learned that early on, and you got to give them a lot of love. They have to feel love. They have to feel, safe, structure. There is a structure. We are a team, so they do have chores. My wife and I don't do everything. They do. Even the 11-year-old, he does his laundry. They take turns cleaning their bathroom. One weekend, they each other take turn. The oldest one, he does the dishes at night, and the little one takes the trash out. In all the room, and if we don't have to tell them that, it got to the point that we don't have to tell them, which is nice. So that's a structure where you discipline and reinforce what you want them to do. Not 1, 2, 3. That's at least my way of parenting. I'm not saying that if you do it or somebody else does. That's how I often tell my wife. Maybe we're doing it wrong. Maybe they're doing it right, but this is how it's working for us. So. They do have their small chores. I don't pay them for chores, um, and I will say that they are, as of right now. Both of them are doing really good in school. They got the oldest one has really good grades. The little one is more the joker side, like me. Uh, but they're two gentlemen. They're really nice boys. So I'm very proud of them.
I'm really happy to hear that you're raising gentlemen, because that's like there's a lack of that philosophy. I feel around the world. I'm really happy that you're raising your kids to be gentlemen. You're raising them to be responsible for the chores in the house, because that's also important. Because nowadays, both men and women, we all work, and having a lending hand for me as a woman, it's very satisfying and gratifying to know that, for example, at our household, we divide the chores. If I cook, my daughter sets and cleans the table, my husband will do the dishes, or any of those three tasks that will be taken care of. I have their support in doing this, and it takes off the load as a mom as well, to have to do everything on your own, especially now that the kids are at home. We're kind of supervising. We've become teachers, alongside the fact that most of us are also entrepreneurs and so on. So it's really good to hear that you're installing that support into your kids. Now, do you also involve them in your business endeavors?
I try. So I don't push them. I basically, for example, before the pandemic, I did speaking engagement. I brought them
Hmm.
in. The oldest one monitor one of the cameras. So I want them to see what that did besides outside the computer. Those are the most typical ones. I take my oldest one. The little one, I'm not too confident handling expensive equipment yet, but once he gets old, I take him to the photo shoots as well. The older one has gone with me for photo shoots, and I use him to mainly for behind the scene, not for client work. So take pictures of me, and at least we can review them and
Yeah.
work out. But yeah, I involve them. But if they don't show that interest, I don't push them because you're going to do marketing because dad is doing marketing. That's not my way of thinking.
Hmm. Exactly. But it is, however, a way of showing them how you work, and involving them in them, for them to see your part of it, your world, to know that when dad's working, this is what dad is doing, right? It's interesting to see. I've shared that with my daughter as well.
It's important, and here it's perception. So they play on the computer, and it's not that we have to explain to them what we do, but we are a team. The team is harmony. The team works well together. It grows well together. So when they know that I'm not playing games, when I tell my oldest one, go on my computer, you will find zero games, zero porn, zero, nothing. This is a working machine. Then and I take them to the
Mm-hmm.
jobs, and they see me running up the stairs, and that they know what it takes. So when now they see me running the cable, because I don't rely on the Wi-Fi for the interviews. I use a hardline. They're like, "Are you going to do an interview?" Yes. And they know they need to stay quiet, so they're part of the team. They don't make any noises when they run next to the office.
Yes.
So it's everybody needs to work together. So it's important. You got to get them to see what you do, and how important it is for them to stay quiet, why they need to stay quiet when they're walking
Mm-hmm.
around, etc., when we're running outside, so they know that it's not just pressing a keyboard and making money,
Yes.
or
Exactly,
playing
because it
games.
does lead to confusion.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what they use the computer for, either school or games. I can see that with my girl as well. I mean, school, the computer's there for school, but there's also the platforms that she chats with her friends on. There's some games on there. So it is important for them to understand that there's time to focus and there's time to play. There's time to work and there's time to have fun with our tools, right?
There is one line that I tell my oldest one. He will, if I say it in front of him, he will roll his eyes, but he applies it, and I think that's why he's so disciplined. He says, I've been telling him for years, play now and pay later, or pay now and play later. Either way, you're going to
Completely.
pay.
I love that phrase. I'm going to take that and share that with the world because it's an important phrase, and I think it's a simple phrase but with a lot of wisdom. It's do the work now and enjoy it later. It's so important for them to know. Now, Angel, as a high achieving parent, what would you like to share with others? What would your one solid piece of advice be for other high achieving parents out there?
Ooh, one thing that changed my life: boundaries. Create boundaries. I live by the calendar, and that is my visual way to know what is coming, to organize myself. I'm not If you're not a calendar person, but create boundaries. If you Even if you're not the romantic type, lunch dates with your spouse, movie nights with the family, going out and small getaways have made a huge difference. Small 2 3 day getaways. It's not all about work.
Mhm.
It's not all about work. I talk to a lot of people that are successful, and I interview a lot of people that are successful, and now that I achieve success, now they are repairing their marriage. I'm glad that I did it the other way. Uh,
The other way around.
However, I'm with the caveat that I understand that there are people that have worked out for them. It didn't work out for me, and I did it differently. That's why, if I can share my story, maybe alleviate some headaches and some struggles. Definitely being a romantic will not hurt. Showing up with lunch unexpected to your spouse work, or if he or she works nights, and you bring some candles and you turn them on, and you have a candle dinner under the stars, and you're inside the car. That's cheesy, but it does the trick. It doesn't have to be flowers all the night. But movie nights, a movie that the kids enjoy, that you make them laugh, that they can relate, that good feeling. And small getaways. It probably costs more to go to a club than actually step out and go
Yes,
to the beach and have a good day with the family. But the one thing, it will be, work. It's not all about work.
it's not
It's
all
not all
about
about.
work.
Yeah, it's not all about work.
Thank you so much, Angel, for sharing your wisdom and your experience. We now know a little bit more about the dad behind the successful businessman because I think it's important for us high achievers to also show that more vulnerable side of us, because most of us, we are parents, and we do juggle the emotional side of wanting to be very successful, but wanting to be successful both in our professional life and in our personal life. And I think it's an amazing way of sharing the different stories, the different ways it has worked out for all of us, for other people to understand there is a way. I know there is a way, because I've been there, and I have been able to establish both. And it's been a hard learning ride for me. I've learned many lessons on the road, so have you. So thank you so much for sharing that experience with us. And go ahead.
I want
Anything else you want to add?
I wanted to add, I answered the previous question and I gave you the answer just a spouse, and I failed to give you one for the kids. As a high achiever and a business, what can we do to, to be better parents? Maybe
Hmm.
inspire them to be better than us. Inspire to be better than you. Inspire your kids to be better than you. That's all. That's
And
one
not
thing that I it's one thing I've been telling my kids, be better, good human being, and lead by example has been hard, extremely hard, but it's worth it because they're always looking, they're always paying attention to what you do. They hear everything, trust me, they do, and they pay attention to what you and they remember. They remember not. They're gonna remember next year what you said today. Remember when you told me X, Y, Z. So leading by example is hard, but I think the best thing we can do for our kids is inspire them to be better than us. We struggle, we succeeded. So if we can inspire them to be better than us, that means that they will struggle less and they will succeed more.
more. Amen to that, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me, and has been an absolute pleasure hearing about your story. And we'll be in touch. Let us know, how can people reach out to you on social media, if you'd please share.
Of course, you can find me. All my social media handles are Angel F. Anderson. Angel F. Anderson is Angel Francisco Anderson. That's my full, my middle name is Francisco. And then in my website, angelanderson.com. Easy.
All right. Easy breezy. Thank you so much. You have an amazing day, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you for having me.
Come and share your insights with me on social media at Coach Severine Nassens, and visit highachievingparents.com for more information on how you too can find clarity and obtain the tools to find fulfillment in both your professional and family life. Talk to you soon.